So today we're going to make Siu Mai dumpling or dim sum. It's a Chinese dish, and I got the inspiration from my father because he's really obsessed with everything that's Chinese. And it is a dish that is fairly easy to make. It doesn't take that much time, but it's a great dish for when you're trying to experiment with food from different cultures and are bored of the regular food. So first of all, you're going to need a pork, and preferably a piece of pork that has a lot of grease in it. You're going to need some wonton skin. This is a Chinese pastry that is used for steaming. You will need some shrimps, some soy sauce, some sesame oil, a flavor enhancer of choice. This is a traditional Chinese one. Some salt, some dried mushrooms, and some ginger. And for the utensils, a butcher knife or a chopping knife, a peeler, and a spoon, a fork, and a knife. Things you will need are a big pot so you can put everything in it, a baking paper, of course your steaming basket. Without this you can't really make the dish, so it's really important, and a glass of water where you can soak the mushrooms in. So what you're going to do first is you're going to take some dried mushrooms and let them soak in water for about 10 minutes. It's important that you do this first so that it has enough time to soak in all the water. The next thing we are going to do is you're going to take the pork and cut it into really fine pieces. So you're going to cut it into small strips of meat. After I cut it into strips, I cut it into smaller pieces, but it's still not fine enough, so we're going to take our chopping knife and cut it into even smaller pieces. So after it has been cut up to the best of your abilities, you can put it into the pot. Now we are going to take a small piece of ginger, and we're going to peel it first, and then we're going to cut it into pieces. I always use a peeler because I'm really clumsy with knives, so this is a better solution. So you have to cut it off a piece that is about a centimeter wide. Like I said, I'm really clumsy with knives. Finally. So you're only going to need a piece that is about this size. And now you're going to cut this in the smallest pieces possible. So if the small knife is not working that well, you can also use your chopping knife to make it easier. Although ginger is very healthy, it has a very rich flavor, so you have to cut it up as fine as possible because you don't want a large piece of ginger. So I cut it up as small as possible, and now we're going to add it to the meat. Now you're going to take your shrimp, and you're only going to need about 100 grams. So that's about half of this package. So once again, we're going to cut this into really small pieces. And that's where the chopping knife comes in handy again. So the shrimp is ready as well, so once again we're going to add it to the meat and the ginger. So now it's time to remove the mushrooms from out of the water, and you really have to squeeze all of the water out of the mushrooms so they're not wet anymore. So now that that's done, we can cut them once again. Now that that's cut up as well, you can add it to the meat and all the rest of the stuff. Now that our mixture is ready, it's time for the seasoning. So the first thing we're going to add is the soy sauce. You really don't need to add that much of it because you don't want it to get too moist. So the next thing you're going to add is our sesame oil. once again, don't use too much of this. And now we're going to add our flavor enhancer. You only need about half a teaspoon of this, but I'm too lazy to go get a teaspoon, so I'm just using my knife. So the final thing we're going to add is some salt. So now you can stir it up using a big spoon. So now comes the tricky part. We're going to take one of our wonton skins, and you're going to place it on your hand like this, and make sure that that it's hollow in the middle. Then you're going to take a teaspoon. You want to make sure that your filling is about the size of a ping pong ball. And then you're going to place it in the middle. And you're going to push it down a bit so it's not that bulky. If you feel like there's more place, just add some more of your filling. And just press it down. It has to look kind of like a bowl with a larger opening on top. After it's folded, just push it down a little bit more. Now you're just going to take your fork or a spoon or whatever and just push the middle in so that you create your vase shape. So make sure that you are gentle so that you don't puncture your wonton skin, because then it will come out when you're steaming it. So after it's done, it's supposed to look a little like this, but only better because I'm not a Chinese yet. And just keep repeating this process until you run out of your filling. So after you've used all of your filling, just take your steaming basket and your baking paper and cut out a piece that is big enough to cover the bottom of your steaming basket. So this is more like an oval, but it will do. You could also punch a few holes into your baking paper so that the steam spreads more evenly. So once it's finished, it will look like this. So now just put a cooking pot with water onto your stove and wait until it boils. Once the water is boiling, just take your steaming basket and put it into the pot. So now just let it steam for about 10 minutes. Once it's done, it will look something like this. So one died, but it doesn't matter. This is not something that you would eat as a main dish, but you would eat this as a starter or an appetizer. You could also make a deep fried version of these, but then you would have to use another kind of pastry and you would have to close them up completely. But for the filling, it's kind of the same. This dish is also something that is completely adaptable to your personal taste, because you can add basically anything to your filling. If you make it the right way, it looks really good, so it's also a great dish for when you have people coming over or when you try to impress your family or something. So thanks for watching.